Harper on notice. No to Harper. We're putting him on notice. We're putting the government on notice that we will not stand by. We will not stand by to allow them to push this through, to impose their will on us. We say no. No! They have no choice but to hear us. We're going to stand in their way. We will stop this development, even though they tell us the propaganda we hear in the news, we see all over the papers, we see on the TV. They suggest that this is going to happen whether we like it or not. They're wrong. And where's DFO in all of this? They should be protecting our water. Shame on you, DFO. Shame on you. What do you say? No! No to Enbridge. No to any pipeline. No to super tankers. We do not want this to happen.
It's my pleasure and my honor to be standing here with the Heiltsuk chiefs and all the chiefs of the coast on the anniversary of the Exxon Valdez, one of the most devastating environmental disasters that ever visited our coast. 1 million gallons of oil that destroyed a coast in Alaska equivalent to almost the whole coast of British Columbia. And that happened 23 years ago. For the past dozen or so years, I've had the privilege of working with the Wiiqunut, the Nukal, the Heiltsuk, the Kitasukhehes, the Gitgat, the Haisla, Metlakatla, Masset, Skidegate, and the Council of the Haida Nation. This alliance represents 20,000 souls who live and work and breathe in the Great Bear Rainforest. We have investigated the benefits and the impacts of allowing tankers to ply our waters, and we have found that no good can come of the Enbridge tankers. Let me share some of the findings that we had over the last number of years. 25 years ago, the Kitimat Valley Pipeline was first proposed to bring oil into Canada because at that time we had a deficit. Isn't it odd that now that we supposedly have a surplus, and we don't, in fact, the east coast of Canada imports 780,000 barrels of oil a day, and Enbridge is proposing to kick 500,000 barrels out of the coast of British Columbia, while our fellow Canadians pay the top prices in the world for oil. I don't think this is national security. I think this is a travesty. When the Exxon Valdez sank and spilled oil on the coast, 7% of that oil was cleaned up. 7%. Almost $1 billion in compensation was won by the courts, in the courts for the people in Alaska. To this day, not 1 cent has ever been paid by big oil to those people in Alaska. They have fought them in the courts every step of the way. Oil does not compensate people, it just fights them. Ladies and gentlemen, I and my colleagues and the chief of the Heiltsuk have traveled throughout this land to investigate the impacts of oil from China to the Gulf of Mexico. And what we found in those travels is that people in those areas told us to look out for big oil. They said oil has a culture that will swallow yours up. And we said, no way, they can't swallow up the culture of the coastal people. We've been here for over 10,000 years and we will remain here. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, those words that we heard from Alaska to the Gulf and from China are starting to ring somewhat true. In Canada, we have been attacked by oil in the guise of the federal government. They have lied to us, they have cheated us, they have tried to bribe us, they have lied about the national security, all in the name of getting a higher price for oil. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got something even more critical in front of us today. This federal government and big oil are trampling on the democracy of Canadians as we stand here today. We cannot allow this to happen. We cannot allow oil to take over our federal government. Is it any coincidence that all the robocalls that got this government elected came out of Alberta? I don't think so. Our well-being as First Nations is dependent on our lands and our waters. We are inseparable from it, and we cannot fail. We will not fail. Democracy is alive and well in British Columbia, and with your help, ladies and gentlemen, and the rest of British Columbians, we will stop this black plague from saturating our province. Thank you very much.
Yes, we are CP. We are the Communication, Energy and Paper Workers Union. We are Canada's energy union, and we stand with you on this issue. We have spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars intervening at the National Energy Board on every pipeline issue in this country. We have spoke in every community to try to educate as many as we can on the pipeline issues happening in Canada. We do not support Enbridge. We do not support Northern Gateway. We do not support any pipeline that's taking oil across our lands. Sisters and brothers, there is a happening in Canada. We have a government, we have Mr. Harper, who is trying to implement probably the worst policy we've seen in our lifetime. It is not just an environmental catastrophe, but a financial one that will affect every single person in this country if we don't say no. And sisters and brothers, the answer is simply no. We have to become one. We will become one. That is the only way we will overcome what is happening to our country. This isn't just about oil. This is about us. This is about our communities. This is about developing an energy strategy that we don't have today. We do not have an energy strategy in a country that is being called Canada's gas station by our Prime Minister. What we need is an oil policy that is fair to workers, fair to communities, fair to First Nations, fair to our children, and fair to our grandchildren. I listened to the speaker before me. I have 5 grandchildren, and I'm concerned about them every day, and here's why. I am ashamed to say that my generation will hand down to my children an earth that is worse off than when it was handed to me. The first generation in the history of our record keeping that we're handing off our communities, our earth, to people that have to fix what we've created. Sisters and brothers, I hope one day we all stand together. We all say no. We all become one. We are with you. Thank you very much.
This comes directly from our community, from our nation, from our leadership. We have a strong commitment. The coastal First Nations, and specifically the Hiltjuk, come from the most complex maritime indigenous society on the planet. We have been in our traditional territory for the last 10,000 years. Before the pyramids were built, our people were here. We have 150 years of recent contact, and we stand to ensure that the Gwilas, the laws of our ancestors, will be maintained so that we can continue to exist in a sustainable way for the next 10,000 years.
Hi. Pansakia. Nia Melina Miowap and Labukan Masmo. Nia Nihiao. Kina Skumtanawao. It's good to be here today on unceded Coast Salish territories. It's an honor. I come from northern Alberta. I come from a community that's impacted by tar sands extraction. And I'm also a climate and energy campaigner with Greenpeace based in Alberta. It's amazing to see all you guys here standing in solidarity with the communities that are impacted by this extraction process and the communities that are standing in opposition to the pipeline and the super tankers that will impact their territories if this were to happen. Last spring, I returned home to witness one of the biggest oil spills in Alberta's history. It was 10 kilometers away from my family's homes. What I saw was a landscape that was forever changed. One that where my family has picked berries, hunted, trapped, fished for thousands of years. And now we know that that land will never be the same. Days before the federal and provincial government admitted that this was happening, my family was sending me messages telling me of burning eyes, headaches, nausea, dizziness. The school was shut down for a week and a half. It wasn't until after the federal election of last year that the information was released about the magnitude of the spill. 28,000 barrels, 4.5 million liters leaked onto our traditional territory without the community even knowing that it was happening. Soon afterward, the story was swept under the carpet, away from the eyes of the public. And yet we know that even though they say it will be cleaned, we know it will never be the same. And never would I wish this upon anyone else. Never would I wish this upon my worst enemy. Never would I wish this upon our Indigenous brothers and sisters that stand here today, that are in opposition to the pipeline and to the tankers on this west coast, this beautiful west coast that I stand here today. Never would I hope that someone would have to tell their family member that the toxic fumes that they're breathing in are from an oil spill nearby. That pregnant women, that elders should have probably have left the community, but no one was telling them this. Shame. The government tried so hard to deny that there was a problem that it put my family and the rest of the community at risk. Shame. And the most sad and frustrating thing about this is that my community will not be the first, nor will it be the last to experience these devastating and drastic situations. We saw it happen over 20 years ago with the Exxon Valdez spill, and we see it happening with increasing incidents across North America and the world. This is why we are here today, so that other communities can hopefully avoid this type of spill. Whether it be in the north of BC, the beautiful, beautiful coast here, or here in Vancouver Port. And the fact is that the oil that fills these pipelines is the dirtiest form of oil on the face of the planet. And that's why we are seeing in Alberta the most devastating impacts. We see pristine living ecosystems being destroyed and replaced by industrialized landscapes, where we can no longer utilize the land, where people are scared to drink the water, where people are developing health issues, elevated rates of cancers, respiratory illnesses, due to the increasing toxicity and emissions that we are dealing with. Communities can no longer access their traditional territories due to the ever-expanding tar sands operations that are on the landscape. Where I come from, billions of dollars are taken out of our traditional territory, and yet my family goes without running water till this day. Shame. We see abject poverty in the richest province of the country. We see First Nation communities living in third world conditions when they're in the midst of a first world country. Shame. We see Aboriginal and treaty rights being violated in the name of tar sands. Shame. We have the choice to change the direction we are taking in this world. Canada could become a world leader in renewable energy. They have that choice. They have that choice to switch to renewable energy systems where our communities would not have to suffer, where we would not have to sustain massive industrialization of tar sands, where we would not need to build more pipelines and put more super tankers on the West Coast. And that's what we are demanding here today. So it's good to be here. Hi, thank you very much. When I say stop the, you say tar sands. Stop the. Stop the. When I say stop the, you say pipeline. Stop the. Stop the. When I say stop the, you say pipelines. Stop the. Stop the. And when I say climate, you say justice. Climate. Climate. Justice. Hi.
I come from the Métis world. We didn't have treaties. We didn't have land base, an official land base. All around me, my relatives come from the treaty world. That was supposed to mean something. But the whole programming, the brainwashing, the destruction of spirit and soul that went on for generations was very effective. Poverty is a tool, it's a weapon. Why is it that there have been so many royal commissions, all kinds of commissions, all kinds of recommendations that can go around the world more than those plastic bottles can go around the world, and nothing can be done? Now, how is that? Companies that have made more money than anyone in the world at any time. And they still want more. They still got to take more. And the work that is done every day on television, on radio, and in lifestyles, how it's really important that you have that second car, or that you have that boat, or you can go and do all these things that rich people can do. And that if you go against oil and the fossil fuels, you're going to wind up poor. You're not going to be able to have a standard of living that you're entitled to. I went to Central America, and I was sitting in an ambassador's office in Guatemala. And the words that were coming out of this man's face were the very same words that I heard when I was a youth, about how this would be a great advantage. You could have well-paying jobs. You would have stability for your families. It would be a change of lifestyle, an advancement in your lifestyle. And what do we have? Three-eyed fish. You can't live off of that water. You can't eat the animals off that land. You can't eat the birds from the air. And in Guatemala, Mexico, Honduras, the indigenous people there, particularly women are targeted, are fighting literally with their lives. And Canada, that man there on that poster, he's got all kinds of people out there spreading that same thing, ripping people off the land, demeaning our cultures, that it's backwards, we're not all that civilized, you know, we're kind of primitive. But the wisdom of my mother's people, thank you for being here and for taking that stand. Because the people have been alone for a long, long time back home. That brainwashing is so powerful, so very effective. So don't let anybody turn you away. If you feel kind of funny for yelling, shame! Don't. And if people try to tell you, yeah, you're crazy, you're never gonna change anything, don't listen. Just connect with the earth. Connect with the earth. Remember your mother's people. Even you're not Indigenous, that doesn't mean that in your history you were not at one time connected with the land. Remember that time. Keep that in your heart. Thank you for being here.
Hello, my name is Takaya Blaney, and I'm 11 years old, and I'm from the Slime Nation. I could go on about how we need to say no to the pipeline, but it's just a simple word of what we're here to say today is no. N-O. It was funny because a year ago on this exact day I went to Enbridge building to tell them about what I felt about their pipeline, and I was just escorted out, and I was told that if I didn't leave I would be charged for trespassing. Charge a 10-year-old girl for trespassing, so... So this is Shallow Waters, and I hope you listen to the message of the song and the lyrics. So this is Shallow Waters, and I hope you enjoy it. In shallow waters I can see your clear waves lapping at my feet. Lifeless ocean, black, not blue. I didn't help but deep down I knew. In shallow waters I used to see wonders at my feet. Lifeless ocean, black, not blue. I didn't help but deep down I knew. Oh, 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 why do tears fall from the sky? Oh, 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 have we given up? Please tell me why. Remember the salty ocean breeze used to build castles on the beach, splashing around in the summer heat. Now it's just oil up to our knees. Bring back the days we used to care. All of these troubles were not there. Cry for help, this is my song. If we do nothing, it'll all be gone. In shallow waters I can see the wonders life God created to be. Tankers and pipelines keep coming through. I turned my head and so did you. Oh, 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 why do tears fall from the sky? Oh, 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 have we given up? Please tell me why. Remember the salty ocean breeze used to build castles on the beach, splashing around in the summer gone. If we do nothing, it'll all be gone. Oh, in shallow waters I can't see your clear waves lapping at my feet.
Wallace Guyasaka, we can all stand proud. We can stand proud that we stood when our moment of truth came, that we were there, that we stood up and were counted, and we ask you to talk to your friends, to talk to your family, to bring them out, to show conviction, because this is only the beginning. We have a long and difficult fight that we're up against, and money will not buy us off. I was asked to mention one more thing. In Bella Bella, our young people, our youth from the community, the ladies asked me to remind you or to let you know that our community has very, very strong feelings about this. Young people in our community have embarked upon a hunger strike because they want to ensure that this doesn't happen. And so they've embarked on a hunger strike until this is resolved, to ensure that there's no tankers on the coast. 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 Dances and all of our songs have been passed down through multiple generations. Our first generation stories talk about when the Creator put our ancestors down on the earth, and these sacred songs and dances are used to recount these supernatural and natural experiences that have occurred on the land and the sea throughout the millennia. These aren't made-up songs and dances. They reflect our long history on this great coast, the great coast that we all share today, that we're all going to keep pristine for our future generations. Wallace Guyasaka, wait. Thank you all for coming. Wallace Guyasaka. See you tonight.